You just said you see something new every day. That was another another one for the ages, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I pray that Dome, the pitcher, is okay. It didn't look good. You never want to see that with student athletes. We've been coaching in games and try to kill each other in the league, and we don't like that at all. So our best wishes. And Crotchfelt was I think I can report a back instead of an arm injury. Those are the two things where it happened to us early and happened to them late, of course. Our guys continue to hang in there. It's the strongest thing I can say about our team, and I told them that after the game. I don't talk to them a lot after a game, but they continue to do that for us. Even in a loss yesterday, it's sitting just about in wins, but did that 10-3 yesterday in a loss, and did that again today, down 9-3, I think, in the ball game. Hadn't seen Nate LaRue lose one this year. That was his first home run. That was great. I don't know, everybody gets tired of me talking about how long I've been coaching, but I've been coaching a long time, a lot of dugouts. I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit a foul fair pole. It should be a fair pole, but to hit the one in right field and left field was incredible. And Connor Copeland was the other story for me personally. The rest of the story, if you will, is he didn't even travel with us to Tuscaloosa last week. And that always requires a proper response for somebody that's like a senior. And I think he did it. And in full disclosure, with Connor's blessing, he would come to me about the middle of the week and hadn't said anything and just begged me not to give up on him. And then we find ourselves on a Sunday in an SEC game with the balance. And we just kept him in there kind of stubbornly. Almost took him out 2 or 3 times. We had 4 or 5 coaches. If we had 7 coaches, we'd have had them involved in the decision making, and kept him in there because at least he was shoving the ball in the strike zone. And because he was throwing strikes, we kept him. So that's a good story that he can bank for the rest of his life. He finished a game at Tennessee last year, and then this year by staying in the fight, not rolling over, he absolutely helps us to win a series today. So I'm really, really proud of him in that regard. I know I'm missing a lot. There's a lot happening in these games right now, but those are some moments that I recall.
Which Cole Foster labeled his own at bats abysmal, but he persevered and came up with a big one at the end. That says a lot about him, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think he did it, Friday night too. He didn't have the best night offensively, and but then he made a 6 unassisted double play, I think, to end the ball game. And so I know Cole's act. There's some swing and miss. There's some talent. There's some people get in different places in different moments. He's like handling a rattlesnake, and you better be careful. You can do it if you execute some stuff. And I think he kind of guesses a little bit, and I wish he'd guess better a little more often. At the same time, what that does is at some point in time that gives him what he wants or what he can bite you with. And so that was good. I really struggled with Nate LaRue running it. You don't want to take your catcher out. And I said, let's at least wait till he gets to second base, and then before we put Josh Hall in, because you can tell we want the game to end there. We want that to be it, and we put Hall in, and of course Foster blew the gap. But at the same time, it's hard to take a catcher out, and that was a big blow for Foster because you just don't want to go back out there in that situation when you got 2 shots at ending the ball game on a hit. So, but Cole's a really talented player. He's going to go very, very, very high in this draft coming up. And like our left side, him and Bryson Ware are really good players that are going to get to play this game for a while.
You mentioned Cooper hitting both, I guess, fair poles, multi-home run day. I think this was 4th straight game with a home run. Just what have you seen kind of working for him that's allowed him to just be so successful at the plate lately?
Yeah, he kind of eats up. If you ever watch from the side, he eats up the whole batter's box. And a lot of times if guys can't perform, you're like, you want to shorten them up. Like if he's playing Little League, they get him to shorten up and, box him up. And he covers that whole strike zone. And I don't know, he's got a good feel. He missed a few weeks and he's building back up, and you're right, 4 games in a row and 2 today. When you see somebody hit a home run to both sides of the field, that they're pretty locked in. you have to account for that guy. You might want to fool with the next guy more. But he's as locked in as he's been all year, and I mean he was a huge impact in this series for sure.
How do you kind of keep Chris Stanfield's spirits up after kind of a rough beginning to the game?
And just remind him of Friday night, tell him to keep playing. That was bad defense for us today. That's kind of what we hang our hat on. I think Hines wound up hitting a double off the monster there, but that was really demoralizing with the two balls that got off of Nate. And if you've watched us any, I mean, that guy can catch. You know, it's been really, we want him to hit more. But the ball that got underneath Chris, and then he lost it, and it was just a tough day. I felt like we had 4 or 5 runs there, kind of giving up defensively, and we're usually so much better than that. But man, I believe in him. I think he's a spark, and it's kind of probably humbling for him, but at the same time, I want them to go through every experience. I think that makes the better player. Today was one of those where he got kind of kicked in the teeth, and I think we're all watching to see what Monday and Tuesday looks like for Chris Stanfield, because he's going to have to boot a few more and swing and miss a little bit more before I give up on that. I love Chris, but this is one of those days where I saw a lot of the older players going to him and pumping him in the chest. He's got to learn these days too.
Kind of on Chris, I know this was the first, I guess, weekend that he's let off, but I just wanted to ask you about, I guess, what went into the decision to put him at that leadoff spot, and then I guess too, just the series as a whole. How would you describe his weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Friday was impactful to winning a ball game. Today it was a challenge for him. The leadoff spot, I think it's something we still talk about. Probably him doing that Friday probably carried him for the weekend of getting the opportunities. We did it less with him in mind and more about trying to lengthen the lineup, I think. And by doing that, you also saw, I think, Green and LaRue flip from 8 and 9. So I think that's something we'll sit over at that table tomorrow and talk about, like, did that work? Did we like it? Where do we go from here? Because we'd had 4 games in a row. Really till the 9th inning yesterday, we hadn't liked the last 5 games that we had played offensively. And some of that was going into Friday. So we need to evaluate, do we feel like we got more length in our lineup? Ike, that was huge for him to get the big hit late. He got on in that 9th yesterday, but we're fortunate the guy was playing really deep. Ike can come on a little bit more. He's had a moment and a few at bats there that I think he's had better at bats earlier in the year, and would like to see him get back. But we'll evaluate that tomorrow. At the end of the day, I don't think that's something we give up on. I think you'll see it. I don't know if you'll see it like just each and every day, but there were some positive features to it.
But you mentioned the term "stay in the fight." Was today the definition of that?
Yeah, the epitome of it. And Copeland's another example we use. I mean, you got to go with what you got till you're riding in a different rhythm, till you're in a different place. So that's our biggest flag that we wave right now. And I'm gonna celebrate every one of those, and start walking away. Hopefully you can tell in my comments, because you're just getting a rut of like 2 or 3 weeks ago. This is our problem, and now we got to go like, all right, in some shape or form, this is who we are. I see it out of the teams we play. I see it in our conference, and I see it in the nation. We're gonna have to find solutions. The game's in a unique, weird place right now, but this is who we are. Staying in the fight is the best thing we can do till we figure out some things, and we got to do as good a job as we can, and coaches in our league and everybody, of trying to keep these players as healthy as we possibly can with the way things are. But I'm gonna keep highlighting what we're doing well, so be ready for that coming. This is what we're doing good, and what's the one thing we can do to improve, and I think that would make a better leader right now for where we're at as a ball club. And like next weekend, I think we go to South Carolina, and hopefully they're 1 or 2 in the country, because if we're ever going to do anything, because I know they just swell, but if we're ever going to do anything and get any respect from anybody or create any kind of season coming out of any kind of hole, you have to ride the meanest, rankest bull, and that's the opportunity. So we get an unbelievable opportunity to score high next week because of who we play. But we don't have enough top 25 wins. We don't have enough resume built. So we need to embrace the opportunity to ride the meanest, rankest bull, because that's how you score. Sometimes when you don't ride a bull, not a lot to them. They don't buck much and you can't score. They don't turn, they don't buck and you can't score. It looks like we're gonna be walking into riding, trying to ride a meanest rankest bull that's out there. And so now we got to get ready for that after a Tuesday game here. Troy, I think